Episode 10, baby. Welcome to episode 10 of the RAGAMUFFIN Music Podcast. I'm Alex.
I'm James.
And I'm Dan.
And this is a place for us to talk about the music we love. Every month we get together, talk about the latest news and alternative music, share our thoughts on the newest releases, and discuss a few topics in the world of heavy music.
On today's episode, we will be reviewing new singles from State Champs, Bring Me the Horizon and Wage War, and taking some time to delve into one of the most anticipated releases of the year, the debut album by Spiritbox.
And then we're going to talk about some of our slam dunk highlights.
But first, let's look at some news. Machine Gun Kelly has made a fool of himself again. In a trend that is a bit worrying, he's gone after another iconic musician in a genre, this time Slipknot. On stage at Riot Fest, he said he was happy to not be a 50-year-old wearing a weird mask. A few hours later, he followed up with a tweet saying that Corey's potential verse for a song on his album, Tickets to My Downfall, was terrible, and called Taylor bitter about it. Corey Taylor then, he brought the receipts out, really.
He did.
Basically showed email correspondence between him and Travis Barker, which said that basically that Machine Gun Kelly was excited and loved Corey's verse, but Corey wasn't really feeling it. MGK tried to write for him, which Corey wasn't down for, so he kind of bowed out of the track.
Which is his right as a musician.
Yeah, absolutely. And basically, everybody hates Machine Gun Kelly now.
Didn't we already?
And I love it.
I kind of just assumed that he was putting a bit of a publicity stunt, putting the bait out there. I thought, everyone's falling for it. This is so predictable. But then I saw Corey bringing out the receipts, and it actually just seems he's upset now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I thought as well, is like, this is just bait. And understandably, we all bit. I put a tweet out about him. But it just seems odd to kind of, first you go after Eminem, who, if you're a fan of hip-hop and rap, you love. And if you're a fan of alternative music, you then go after Slipknot. It just seems like we kind of said in the video that we put out about Machine Gun Kelly, he's already in a weird space within alternative music where he's not accepted by everyone yet. People are still hesitant to believe that he's authentic about it, and then he does something like this and it kind of sounds...
maybe he's realised that and he's getting upset about it, and why does no one like me?
Yeah, wind me up.
Fuck you, Machine Gun Kelly.
In other news, Slam Dunk have made an announcement for 2022. They've announced Rancid, Alexis on Fire, The Used, The Wonder Years, Motion City Soundtrack, Hot Milk, Meet Me at the Altar, with more to be announced. Are we excited about this?
Slam Dunk Festival, yeah.
The Wonder Years.
It's going to be great. I mean, I'm imagining...
The Wonder Years.
Dan loves The Wonder Years.
Dan, who do you want to go and
see?
The
Wonder Years.
It's quite a nice...
The Wonder Years.
It's a good mix of bands.
The Wonder Years.
I would imagine that Rancid are probably going to be headlining the Punkin Drublic stage.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Space for a proper headliner is still to be announced. Behemoth frontman Nurgle has won dismissal of a blasphemy case in his country of Poland. He posted a picture of his shoe stamping on an image of the Virgin Mary. He was fined what equates roughly to about $4,000, but he contested it and has won his appeal, and the case has now been dismissed. Which is good, I think. I mean, he comes from a country where I think religious sort of ideology is quite forced, and he's dealt with issues of blasphemy, and I mean, he's a Satanist and people don't like that about him. So, but it's good to kind of see that freedom of expression has kind of won out.
Yeah,
definitely.
So yeah, good for him.
Up with atheism.
Slipknot have announced a Knotfest for Finland with Nightwish, Bring Me the Horizon, Arch Enemy, Stamina and Blind Channel, with more to be announced. And it's very tempting, isn't it?
I'm very much considering this. I think a little excursion to Finland would be very fun.
Yeah, it's nice to see Bring Me. I think they've been announced for a few different Knotfests now. So it's good to see them being paired with Slipknot. Hopefully it's going to... I mean, they're one of the biggest bands anyway, but it's going to push them just that a little bit further. And in final news, founding guitarist of Loathe, Connor Sweeney, has left. In a short statement from the band, they thanked him for his contributions and commitment and wished him the best for his future endeavours, which felt a bit short, especially for it to be announced in the middle of the tour. They're currently on tour with While She Sleeps. They've said that the tour will continue as planned. Connor himself took to Instagram to kind of share his side a bit more. He said, I'm not dead musically and I have something I'm working on that I'll be putting what's left of my heart and soul into after what has been a harrowing ordeal this past year. I thought some things might have changed within time within the band, but unfortunately in this case things continue to stay the same. So as to preserve my own mental health and well-being, I've decided to leave. He then goes on to thank members of their management and crew, but not the band themselves, which is...
It does sound like a bit of a fallout, unfortunately. Or artistic differences.
Yeah, it's a shame because I mean we saw them. This was like this announced the day after that we saw them, and they played great and they were amazing.
We saw his last gig with them.
But you said, James, that you kind of felt that you noted that he looked out of place on stage, sort of.
Yeah, I think from the first time we saw them, which was like less than 2 weeks beforehand, was at Slam Dunk, and seeing live videos as well, he has like a very calm stage presence as it is anyway, and doesn't he's not there headbanging, he's not there jumping, he's just there riffing the whole time. But I genuinely felt that seeing them when they were supporting Sleeps on that last show at Underworld, that he just didn't seem to be as engaged, even though he is minimally anyway. And I don't know, it just clocked in my head being like, oh, is he happy? Is he all right up there? And like we saw them as we walked out the gig, we saw him and we saw the singer, and we just said like, great show in that. And I mean, he must have known at that point that was his last one. Yeah, he felt like he was a bit out of place and a little bit disjointed from the band, but that could be me just reading into things.
I mean, I don't know how, what level of contribution he had to the band and their writing, but hopefully he thrives musically and they continue to thrive. I mean, they released an incredible album and they're about to go and do a tour where they play it in entirety. So, yeah, nothing but the best for both of them in the future. And that's the news. As always, we recommended some albums last episode. So, James, what did you recommend for us?
I recommended the Korn self-titled debut album. What did you think?
Yeah, I liked it. I've listened to it a few times before. I think my relationship with Korn is very much kind of casual. Like, I know all the big ones, but I rarely will go through a whole album. So it was fun to do it. I don't think I loved all of it, but the ones that I did love, I love a lot. Blind, obviously, Bull Tongue, Clown. Also notable, this is like one of the... I've listened to Daddy all the way through like a handful of times before this. Don't plan on doing it again anytime soon.
It is a journey.
But it's interesting to kind of go there, sort of emotionally, like, take that journey, especially when you've had the whole album come before it. So, enjoy this album. I don't think it's my favourite Korn album.
What is?
Take a look in the mirror. But yeah, I liked it. I love a bit of Korn.
Dan?
I've not listened to Korn that much, but I liked the kind of old school new metal sound. It's like a classic, recognisable sound, isn't it, really? I enjoyed like the atmospheric wailing guitar tones that they use, especially earlier on in the album. I love the raw drum sound, but they just feel like they're a diet Slipknot.
Ooh.
I feel like they're good, but Slipknot do everything Korn do, but 10 times better.
Okay, that's a take I've not heard before.
I did enjoy it though.
Dan, what did you recommend?
I recommended Transmute by MECO. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think we're all going to talk about this because I want to hear your opinion on it as well, Dan. But the thing that stood out to me the most is like just how much fun this album was. I, on my first listen, kind of just planned to listen to about half of it and then give myself a break. And then I ended up listening to it all the way through 3 times in one sitting because I was just having so much fun listening to it. And I think that was the thing that carried me like all the way through. And also the choruses all felt really... It was like the vocals were soaring and just felt really big. I liked that you could hear the 2 voices like blending together. And nothing can like translate how much fun this album is more than Gold. When that kind of end segment...
That last minute is just silly.
And
but in the best way.
I just love it. I can't stop listening to it. The riff itself is great, and then it gets a bit slower and a bit slower. Yeah, also Smouldering Sticks and Baby Steps were the ones that really stood out for me. Yeah, I love it. I think you described them as like the love child of Biffy and Royal Blood.
Yeah.
Which is so spot on. So if you like those sort of bands, this album is going to be really up your street. I thought it was great.
And they're still only a small band, and it feels like not enough people know about them. A lot of their songs wouldn't go amiss in a huge arena.
Yeah.
But they're playing little like basement shows and club shows and stuff.
Yeah, I think if this is the time to get on board and go and try and catch them at a show because it would be so much fun to hear these songs live.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. I thought the title track, Transmute, was a really cool and unique way to introduce an album. I always kind of love those things, and it flows into Another Day really impressively. I really like the variety in the instrumentals, where I think each of the songs has a very different feel musically, and that just keeps it really, really refreshing. For the vocals, again, a really solid performance. Especially you can hear like the range in A Test of Our Resolve. Those high notes are absolutely beautiful. I love the isolated drum intro for Baby Steps, and the choice of turning the snares off was, again, very refreshing, a very different sound. You don't hear that often, and it just shows off even more of that variety. I think Sabotage has a fantastic feature, the cowbell. Got to call that out before bursting into just such a nice riff, and much more like some of that heavy instrumentals from them, and then we get the cowbell back, so that's always wonderful. I felt like they really knew how to appeal to you, Alex, by having an interlude and naming the song Interlude.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't know what I mean, we've got a Sleeps tier list coming out soon, so check out that. You'll hear Alex's thoughts on interludes and why he loves them so much. I thought the chilled acoustic vibes for lead made for a really good pace into the album as well. And overall, I think there's fantastic production across the album, a solid release, and yeah, really, really enjoyed it.
Another thing that I really liked as well is sometimes when it's a 3-piece, they'll double track the guitars just to fill it out. But I like that sometimes when he's playing a lead part on the guitar, all you can hear is the bass and the low end. Like there's loads of room for the guitar and the bass to breathe and like exist separately but also work together really well. And I just think also the bass tone is so fast.
You can pick out that instrumentation beautifully.
I think, yeah, they could have easily just like, maybe they did double track. Do you know what I mean? They could have made it more obvious that it was 2 guitars on the album, but they definitely made it feel like when they play it live, it's going to sound exactly like that. And it's not going to sound empty live, it's still going to sound as full as it does on this album. So yeah, produced really well, but really fun songs.
I feel like fun and refreshing are the two main words that we used there.
So then, Alex, what did you recommend?
I recommended Avenged Sevenfold's self-titled album, a classic.
This was just an easy one for me because I've listened to it so much over the years. I did only give this a few listens because I can pull it from the top of my head and someone can play a song of these and I'll start singing the lyrics straight away. It's always a pleasure to go back to this album. I think the first 4 songs in particular are so strong, going from Critical Acclaim to Almost Easy, Screaming Afterlife. The amount of times I've not just listened to those 4, but then just sat behind a drum kit and played those 4, just flowing through. It's just absolutely fantastic and gives me some great memories. Dear God is just an amazing ballad and varies up the album beautifully. A Little Piece of Heaven is just an epic tune that will always just be a fun listen and sing along with its twisted and dark but comedic story. And to be fair, it was just a joy to listen back to a classic album from a band that I would say that was their prime.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And yeah, this is an album that I hold very dear, so I love this.
Avenged are another band that I haven't really given too much time to before, and I didn't realise how versatile they actually are. Like they've got some big choruses, like on Almost Easy. They've got heavier bits, which everyone's aware of. There's the more melodic parts, like on Gunslinger, and then some guitar solos and all the other good stuff chucked in between. Like James said, some of the songs tell like a story, and it feels a bit like a rock opera at times, which is a compliment. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it, and I'll have to listen to some more, I think.
I think people do underestimate the versatility of Avenged Sevenfold.
Well, what's cool as well, it's cool that you both point that out because this album, they self-produced, so they had complete control over everything. And I think that shines through. I mean, you mentioned the first 4 tracks, which are all great, but it's actually the latter half of this album that I, in a way, prefer because you got songs like Brompton Cocktail, which are ridiculous. You know, they have like a guy that's playing like old-timey ragtime piano, like in these verses, and it shouldn't work, but they just go so all in on like being mental.
The second half does feel a bit more like experimental in a way. Like there's some moments that sound like country songs, but then it breaks off into being a metal song again.
They've got people like guest musicians coming in to play like pedal steel guitars. They had choirs, orchestras. Yeah, I love this album a lot. I'm really glad you guys liked it. Let's start with a fun one from State Champs. What do you guys think of it?
I think they've done a solid here. They've written one small melody line that they've really moulded the song around, which you hear across the guitar and vocal parts, and creates a really catchy tune. Hearing this melody line right from the beginning of the vocals just really hooks you in and keeps you in love with it. I love the first half of the first verse, where the bass line is just featured so prominently. The chorus is just catchy as fuck, and I think this is guaranteed to have you singing along after only hearing part of the first chorus. You're hooked in straight away. It's got a really nice bridge section which breaks the song well before the double chorus to finish. It's kind of like your typical perfect pop punk song for catchiness. Kept my head bobbing throughout the whole track, had really good energy, and I really, really enjoyed it.
It's an instant State Champs classic for me. It's got an ironically catchy chorus that, obviously the song's called Out of My Head, and you can't get the chorus out of your head.
It's staying in there.
State Champs I always enjoy so much more live than on recording, and they played this song at Slam Dunk, and by the time you get to the second chorus you already know the words, you're already singing along, bouncing along, doing all that good stuff. So yeah, instant classic.
Yeah, just say it's just so much fun, isn't it? Something about State Champs that even though they're cheesy, I just really love them and they're so catchy. And yeah, like you both said, you need like one listen and it's in your head and that's it. It's game over. We've got a new song from Whitechapel called Lost Boy ahead of their upcoming album. I think Phil Bozeman is such a talented vocalist because in a lot of deathcore, it's just incoherent noise sometimes. And I think it's actually really easy to listen to and understand. And that makes it so much more... I don't like the word accessible, but deathcore's not an easy genre. And they make it really easy to listen to. I've not listened to anything that's new for a while. So the cleans really took me by surprise. And the whole song actually was quite melodic. Like the bridge and like the kind of section after that where it's just clean vocals and like kind of delicate guitars. I thought it was great. I think deathcore's thriving this year. Between this, we've had Slaughter to Prevail, Lorna Shore. Yeah, little deathcore resurgence. I like it.
It's amazing.
I agree with you on the vocals, Alex. There's some parts in the song where he's saying he's got to deliver a lot of words in a very short amount of time, and it's so hard to deliver each one clearly and profoundly while holding a scream together. Yeah. It's a very talented thing to do. I got a few Gojira vibes from it at times, which is quite a good thing. I quite enjoy Gojira. And there's a nice guitar solo into the outro at the end, which is cool as fuck.
Yeah, it's just frantic energy right from the start. It's so fun. The chorus, I think, really truly peaks in the song. With, like you say, that vocal harshness comes through so clean, which when it repeats, it kind of had me chanting along when you're hearing the chorus come through again. And that bridge section where the feel of the song completely switches up into cleans and much more melodic than you'd expect from Whitechapel, before that nice transition back into a heavy last minute with that tasty guitar solo and one final big chorus. And like you said, there's those kind of like fast sections, which I think, if you've kind of listened to them before, you can hear it in the Saw as a Law, and you hear just that clarity in the vocals. And with deathcore, it can be so muddled sometimes in hearing their vocals and just understanding and kind of connecting to that music. And I think they're getting better. And I haven't listened to them as much since Our Endless War.
Yeah, same.
And I think this is now, between this and Slaughter to Prevail, like this is getting me back into deathcore after probably some time away from it. I really enjoyed this song, and I'm actually really looking forward to a new album coming from them at the end of October.
Before we see them later this week, Blood Youth released a new song, Colony 3. It's unreal how good these riffs are. It feels like they've taken a huge step up with their latest releases. I'm excited for excited for the album, excited to see them. And just like with Iron Lung, massive chorus. It's going to be really good to hear it live. What do you guys think?
I've been hearing a lot of the comparisons people have been making, calling Blood Youth the UK Slipknot. And I think that is one that is very evident on this song in particular. The slow build in the intro is going to be perfect live. I know that much. And I can already picture the pit opening up and everyone backing up to create just the biggest open space circle possible before just chaos. I find the riff really groovy, and the vocals remind me a bit of Iowa era Slipknot, getting some of those kind of heretic anthem vibes coming through. The blast beats dropping in during the verse sections were so nicely paced. The chorus comes in at a great place with some really nice clean vocals with a nice mini solo at the end, before back into just a high energy verse. And the final section just slowing right down and bringing some beautiful tom work on the drums. It's another absolute banger from Blood Youth, and it's sad to see Kaya leave. But as the band are going from strength to strength, I'm really looking forward to this next chapter that's going to come through with them.
I'm gutted that Kaya's not going to be Blood Youth's vocalist going forwards, because on these newer songs they've released, he's sounded phenomenal on them. Obviously he's got his reasons for leaving, and obviously everyone wishes him all the best going forward. But the new vocalist Harry's going to have some big shoes to fill here.
Yeah, it was just.
But I guess we'll find out later this week if he's capable.
Yes, we will.
Which I'm sure he is. He sounds good.
Yeah.
Teeth, a new one from Wage War. What do you guys think?
Well, you guys have both talked about Wage War a lot over the years, and I think this could be the song that finally gets me into them. I love like the glitchy, stuttery feel of the lead riff. The little whisper pre-chorus is a really nice touch, and then the chorus that follows it is excellent as well. The second half of the song turns a bit bear-toothy, which again, great. The only criticism is I feel like the breakdown could have hit a little harder than it did, but it does still kind of work.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you with pretty much all of that. The first listen, I didn't enjoy it as much, I think coming from a very old Wage War standpoint, but it's been one that's grown on me with repeat listens. The intro is nice and different. I think we've never really heard Wage War experiment in the world of like electronics being mixed in with their music. So this is making me very intrigued with this new album coming out. What else could we expect from them? I thought the riff was a nice standard one, gets your head bopping. And I think some of the best moments are Cody's vocals in the chorus, absolutely shining through. And I would probably go as far as saying they're probably some of the best in modern metalcore right now.
His vocals.
Cody's vocals, Cody's cleans, I think are absolutely fantastic.
Fair enough.
And I agree with you, Dan. The band's provided so many incredible breakdowns in recent memory. You look back at things like The River, which is, I think, a peak of that. And so having this breakdown fall a little bit flat, I think, was a little bit disappointing. But these first 3 singles we've heard are very different. I'm getting very intrigued leading up to this 4th album. And I'm not sure what to expect because High Horse, you're hearing something that sounds like it could have been from Deadweight. Circle the Drain and Teeth are very much more fitting with Pressure. So let's see how they evolve a bit more.
There's one thing you said that I want to point out, and you said it's a very standard riff. To me, that's the problem. This song, when Wage War are good, they're incredible. But this song felt a bit riffing by numbers for them. Or, the whole song just felt like, what does a standard Wage War song sound like? And then this came out. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't blown away by it. I don't think...
Like if you got an AI to write a Wage War song.
Yeah, and this is how it turned out. It didn't really make much of an impression on me. I think, like you said, they've already in a short amount of time made a lot of iconic breakdowns and very big riffs. So, for me, I don't know, I just wasn't that blown away. Let's talk about Die For You by Bring Me. Who wants to go first?
I knew when I first heard this one that this was going to cause a lot of division. There's a lot of people that hate it. A lot of people that heard post-human survival horror and thought, oh, Bring Me the Horizon are a metalcore band again. They're doing heavy stuff again. And then they brought out Die For You. And a lot of people hate it. But I love it. I think it's really catchy. I think it fits in more with kind of the Ammo era, I think. There's a few little screams in there as well, so little tidbits and teasers for people that are that way inclined. But I think it's a great metal pop song.
Yeah.
If I want to try and put a label on it, which I don't think you can do with Bring Me the Horizon anymore.
That's exactly what I've seen Ollie say in an interview, is that he grew up on heavy music, but now he appreciates pop music and he wants to find that middle ground without just making radio rock. And I think they have done that. And they know what they're doing by releasing this first, especially after, like you said, with post-human survival horror. People were like, yeah, they're heavy again. And doing this is, it keeps everyone on their toes, like, as a fan. I just felt weird about it for the first few listens. I felt like I kind of clocked that the first verse has a really similar melody to I Fall Apart by Post Malone. And that is quite distracting for me listening to this song.
It's a similar vocal style as well.
But it has grown on me. But the whole song, I actually kind of felt like all of the melodies were familiar in a way that it was like, even though I've never heard it, it was a song that I'd already know. Like, before he finished like the chorus, I knew where the melody was going in a way. Do you know what I mean? I just had like this innate sense of like, I know how this song works. Not in like a predictable way, just in like a satisfying way.
Like you felt like it should go this way,
yeah,
and then it does.
Everything they set up is followed through in exactly the right way. But I can understand why people don't like it. But I think it's going to slap live.
No, it wouldn't be one of my favourite Bring Me the Horizon songs, but I think surprisingly to both of you that I did enjoy this as well. It's nice to hear just Ollie's vocals at the start, and once you hear it, I think it just hooks you in. And again, you'll be singing it later on when it reappears. And the electronics are nice when they burst in, and I expect this to be a big song live. The slightly heavier second verse enters, guitars come in, and like I said, Ollie's vocals get a little bit more harsher, and that's like where it starts to really peak in the song. Nice little scream before that electronic bridge, which was the worst part for me. I kind of felt like it was going to build to a heavier breakdown almost, and that felt a little bit flat. But it was a good song, and I think at this point in their careers, and based on the last EP, the next release is going to be just such a mix. You can't define Bring Me by a genre. It's like they're their own genre now. You have a distinct sound of what you can hear from them, and it's not going to be pigeonholed by anything, and it works. And I think that's what is now great, that they're at this point in their career and they can cater to such a large audience. They can bring in the old fans still. They can still try and collect some of these new fans because there's such an eclectic mix of sound and almost genre-bending music that they're creating. And I'm very excited for this EP.
So a few episodes ago, we all got very excited about Vortex by Ginger, and they've since released their album Wallflowers. So what do we think about it?
I was disappointed.
I was disappointed as well.
I think after only getting a few songs in, you can tell they've got a very particular sound, especially with the guitar tone being so prominent in how it sounds. And it doesn't feel like there's enough variance going from song to song for me, making most of the songs feel fairly similar and slightly stale when trying to go deeper into the album. I think hearing Vortex and getting interest from that, it is the standout song on the album still. It is very well written and shows off the range and the vocal ability in particular. I think Disclosure, Pearls and Swine and Sleep of the Righteous follow as some of the more notable songs on the rest of the album. But I feel like kind of tonally this was just a hard album to get into, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would, which was just disappointing, I think.
I pretty much agree with you, I think, James. I think the vocals were phenomenal, and there's a lot of variety within them. Obviously the heavier, harsher ones, the melodic, clean vocals as well. But other than that, in terms of instrumentally, everything else was I kind of followed a kind of cookie cutter pattern in a way. That there was like a slow build up into then some heavy riffs, then sort of slowing down again. It felt like it kind of did quite similar for every single song, which by the end got a little bit tiring and predictable, I guess. But I did enjoy the album as a whole. I think if I was to revisit it, it'd only be certain songs.
Yeah,
like perhaps Copycat was one of my highlights. Vortex again was brilliant. I'd also liked Pearls and Swine as well. But other than that, it was all kind of a little bit samey.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. Again, Vortex, an absolute standout. And I like the opening track, and like you guys said, Pearls and Swine was good. I actually felt like the mix was, a bit muddy.
Yeah, the production didn't seem great.
It's weird that, I'm used to listening to black metal that sounds like it was recorded on a potato. And this is the first time that an album's production has been quite off-putting to me.
I think that's part of what made me really struggle with it, is it didn't sound clean at all. And it seems like it's so muddy in the instrumentals, you can't hear things properly in the mix. And it took away from that listening experience.
I can think of only a handful of other albums that we've all been this excited for, especially this year. It's Eternal Blue by Spiritbox. What do we think?
Well, the first thing that caught my eye when I opened up Spotify to play this album was there's a Sam Carter feature on there.
Yeah.
So I was drawn straight to Yellow Jacket, which at the moment is my standout song. We've already heard 4 or 5 singles from it.
At least 4, definitely 5.
5, yeah.
So in terms of newness, Yellow Jacket has just wiped the floor with everything else. Not just because of the Sam Carter feature, but it's got a great breakdown at the end. The kind of mix of electronic sounds with metalcore and everything else is perfect. And it's finally a song where it's not Courtney LaPlante featuring. It's someone featuring on a Courtney LaPlante song. It's nice as well that Sam sticks around for the whole song rather than just having a verse. And it's a suitable feature as well because there's moments across this whole album where there's some kind of Architects-like sound or influence on there.
Yeah.
Whether it's a riff, whether it's a melodic ambient moment, there's definitely influence there as well. And yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it too. I mean, the singles running up to it was just build up on top of build up every time something new came out that was showing a different side of them. I was getting more and more excited, and the whole album just paid it all off. I think it was good. Firstly, for the singles to be kind of nicely spread out, so that as you're going through your first listen, you get to something kind of familiar every few songs, which for me just kind of broke it up a little bit. But also those songs work really nicely in the context of the album, especially going Sunkiller into Hurt You. Was just so seamless and so perfect. Yeah.
Sunkiller is an awesome opener, by the way.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I knew, for that to be the first song and the pre-breakdown is her just whispering, I thought, we're in for it on this one.
It felt a little Evanescence at times.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. But then they applied their own brand to it as well.
I mean, like we said before, her vocals are what separates... the whole band are amazing, but her vocals put them above so many other bands in the scene. But the riffs are incredible as well. Yeah, Sunkiller, Yellow Jacket. And as far as new songs, Silk in the Strings as well was another really big one that stood out for me. Perfect. It was everything that I thought it was going to be. I'm really happy with it.
I'm not sure how many albums I can make this statement on, but I feel like every song could have been a single. I think that there's very few that... I'm trying to think of things now and I can't, where you listen to that and be like, that's a really good standout song. That's a really good standout song. And I think that's a fantastic testament to their writing and just the musical performance in that. And I think that is fantastic.
I think that's helped by the fact that every song brings something different to the table. There's nothing repetitive. They don't follow a certain formula in each song. Everything's slightly different.
I think especially, like we said, with the versatility of Courtney's vocals, it allows that whole album to be just engaging and not a single song feels out of place or like it needs to be dropped or it doesn't feel too long. I didn't grow tired or lose interest during whole listens of the album from start to finish. And like with so many of the songs that are incredible that we've heard, like Holy Roller, Hurt You and Circle With Me, but the new ones, like you said, Silk and the Strings, and then I think it's Halcyon, also stand out as great songs. I think the bass in Yellow Jacket in particular is incredible. Like you said, Sam's vocals fit perfectly alongside Courtney's. It makes a really strong feature, especially the chorus, when you can really hear both of them together, delivering such powerful and amazing vocals. It's phenomenal. I think it's definitely up there as part of the Album of the Year contenders. So many big standout ones from this year and so many still to come, but I think this will stand out when we come to our awards at the end of the year as one that is definitely going to be featuring in the top 3 of maybe all of ours, to be honest.
And what's mad as well is like everyone that I see on Twitter talking about this album is all positive. Like people just are in love with it, and the hype has been built. Like we've had Holy Roller for like well over a year. Same with Constance, and like I'm not sick of hearing those songs at all.
No.
Like especially compared to albums that have come out this year.
I was actually excited to listen to them again going into the album.
The hype has just been so incredible. Every single was perfectly timed, perfectly picked to bring out a new side of them, and then this as a whole has been incredible.
And the last time I checked, they were on for a top 10 UK album. Yeah,
wouldn't that be amazing?
Wow, that'd be fantastic.
For a debut metalcore album, that's something else, isn't it? There are quite a lot of releases to look forward to in October. On the 1st, Asking Alexandria will release See What's on the Inside, and also Wage War will release Manic. And on the 1st, Dying Wish will release Fragments of a Bit of Memory. Cool, what a day. On the 8th, Trivium will release In the Court of the Dragon. The 15th will see Ice Nine Kills with The Silver Scream 2, Welcome to Horrorwood.
Yes!
Let's go!
On the 22nd, we've got Every Time I Die's Radical. And closing out the month on the 29th, Kin by Whitechapel. What are you guys excited for?
There is so much there.
Plus, as well, you've got the delayed release of Don Broco.
Yes. Don't know what date. The date will be on screen.
I think there are so many there that are standouts that trying to just wrap my head around all of those releases is going to be difficult. It's going to be an interesting time to try and listen to that much music next month. If I was to name one, I'm going to go with Trivium. I think What the Dead Men Say last year was an absolutely incredible album and showed they're still at their peak. They're still writing incredible music, and I'm very intrigued to see where this is going to go. And I think they're just, even this long into their career, decades in, they're still producing fantastic music, and I think they're growing, and I expect them to be headlining big festivals still in the future. So if I'm saying one, I'm going to go Trivium, but so many of those are great.
I've been really impressed with what I've heard from Dying Wish, so I think if I had to pick one out of there, it would be that one.
Yeah, Dying Wish as well for me. I mean, they're on tour with Motionless in White and Silent Planet at the moment, and I'm seeing people on Twitter come away with Dying Wish being like the main attraction from that tour, even though they're a support band. Let's talk about gigs. This month has seen us all return to live music together. We went to the Heavy Music Awards. The vlog is in the top corner of the screen now. But let's talk about it here. So what did you guys think about the day?
Oh, it was just anticipation getting back to live music. Like, you'd been to a couple of gigs beforehand, Dan, but me and Alex, we hadn't seen anything since March of 2020. And like, we get our gigs usually every month, and I think going 18 months without seeing live music, walking in there and seeing Hot Milk, who I'll say is a band I've not listened to beforehand, and just hearing that music genuinely made me feel emotional after that, and kind of brought a tear to my eye of showing just how much I think that subconsciously and maybe consciously meant to me, just to be in that scenario again. It was just a fun day out to go and do something different that we'd never done before. Going and seeing like an award show, getting to see a band like Sleep Token live was absolutely incredible. And I think it was just a nice entrance to get back into live music for me.
I think what was cool about it was just that I didn't feel any anxiety or stress like I thought I would. Like, as soon as I walked in, it was just like almost like a weight off my shoulders in a way. Like, it was just a relief to just be back, and like we said, Sleep Token were just unreal. They completely stole the show above the awards themselves. Trash Break were obviously amazing. Hot Milk we only really caught the end of, but Sleep Token, it was on another level, wasn't it?
Mesmerising is the word that I keep using, because I was just kind of in awe of.
Yeah.
I already loved Sleep Token, but finally seeing them live, it was like a religious experience. It was really not odd, but almost overwhelming of how powerful it felt.
I was looking around, and the way that I've never seen people be so like enveloped and singing along to a song like they were with some of the Sleep Token songs. It was just, yeah, it's ridiculous. I think we're really fortunate to be seeing them on the tour, the size of the tour that they're on, because in the way that now you're never going to see Slipknot in anything other than arena, I feel like with Sleep Token they had such a command on the audience that soon they're going to have to be playing big venues all the time.
They're definitely going that way, for sure.
So I feel like we're really lucky to be catching them when we are.
Worship.
Yes, Worship.
We also went to another gig, didn't we, boys?
Yes, we did.
It was While She Sleeps at the Underworld in Camden with support from Loathe, and we can all agree it was the sweatiest gig we've ever been to. Wet.
I mean, Alex can probably play the clip on screen. Me coming out of that gig, wringing out my t-shirt. It was grim.
Disgusting.
Absolutely grim.
But so worth it.
Oh, it was fantastic. I have debated back and forth, I think, in my head, and I think it may have been the best gig I've ever been to.
I remember Alex made that claim almost straight after the gig.
Yeah, and I stand by it. I thought maybe I was getting ahead of myself saying it on the street outside the venue, but now that it's been a few days removed...
Stand by it?
Stand by it, 100%, yeah.
I think prior to this, it was when we'd seen them at a very small venue, like in our hometown of Oxford, quite a few years ago. And it was a 300 capacity, and I think seeing this band grow since then, release even more incredible music, and go on to headline stages at festivals, going back to seeing them at a 500 capacity venue and putting on this kind of headline show and the energy, doing 3 back-to-back nights in one venue as well. It was unbelievable, and I think the greatest live experience of music I've ever seen. They commanded the stage perfectly. They had the crowd sing along for everything, and it was just a wonderful experience.
They looked like them in themselves. They were having an amazing time as well. I'd spent most of the show sort of near Matt's side of the stage, and he just looked like he had the biggest grin on his face most of the set. He was just getting the crowd pumped up. It's always nice to see a band just having fun.
I think I'm now going to struggle a little bit with other gigs to live up to this, because what a comeback it was after all these months. We'd seen this show particularly being delayed, and I think the anticipation was growing. Sleep Society this year was an absolutely fantastic album, and I think it's going to be hard to live up to this as like a comeback to gigs, really. This was like, we're back, fuck COVID, let's go, and let's have a wonderful time, and it was an absolutely fantastic evening.
I think you're guaranteed to have a good time as well when it's a band of that size playing in a venue that's like 10 times too small for them, probably. Like, I didn't catch them at Slam Dunk like you did, James, but so the last time I saw While She Sleeps was at Brixton Academy, which was a 5,000 capacity venue. Mm-hmm. So to then the next time I see them be in a 500 capacity Underworld,
Completely opposite.
It's unbelievable. What a venue as well, Alex.
Yeah.
That was your first time in the Underworld.
My first time there, and it was just perfect. Everything felt like it all fell into place. The thing about Sleeps as well is they have such an obvious and like they love their fans. I know every band says it, but they're one of the few bands that you can actually feel it, and I feel like they're never gonna. Obviously, they can play Brixton and the Roundhouse and big venues whenever they want, and they'll probably continue to grow. But I feel like they're always every now and then gonna do a tour like this because they love being in those sweaty, tiny stage diving environments as much as we do, and that's what made it more special.
That's where they're at their best, I think.
Yeah, but I just love that Sleeps. I feel like they're always gonna want to come back to that.
That intimate feeling of being in that small
venue.
venue.
Do it for us as much as doing it for themselves. And it comes through when Loz is up there being like, this stage is yours, get the fuck up here. And
trust me,
James took full advantage.
I was up from that station many times. Go and check out our vlog in particular of that gig. As soon as he was saying that, I think very early on, that was just my call to arms. And I've lost count the amount of times I was up on that stage. I was helping people get up there. It was a wonderful time. Wonderful time.
That or this or that. That or this or that. That or this or that. That or this.
It's that or this time. Fair warning, it's not a good one. It's September, which means everyone's back to school. So it's back to school theme. So I've picked songs that have a school theme, kind of. Some of them are a bit more tenuous than others.
Oh, wow.
And I want to know which one we all prefer. So first up we got Alice Cooper, School's Out, or Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall.
I feel like I'm going to go with Alice Cooper. I think it's a little bit more anthemic. You can get a big sing-along with it. It's a bit more fun. Another Brick in the Wall is a very good song, very well written, but School's Out, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. It's Alice Cooper for me. It's just as good as Pink Floyd are. It's just a fun song, isn't it?
So fun, isn't it? Yeah, Alice Cooper, definitely.
I used to walk home from school playing that.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay.
Only in the summer.
Only in the summer.
Was that in sixth form? Busted with What I Go to School For, or Bowling for Soups, High School Never
That's
Ends.
what I go to school for, straight away. I'm not even going to let you finish that sentence. Yeah.
Busted.
Easy, innit?
Yeah.
Busted, obviously. And last one, because I couldn't find that many about schools. ABC by the Jackson 5, or We're All in This Together from High School Musical.
Purely out of principle that I hate High School Musical, I'm going with ABC.
I have to do the same.
I know what you're going for.
I'm going for High School
For
Musical.
my own honour.
For my honour and dignity.
You're allowed to like High School Musical.
I don't want to.
It's not. You can be a metalhead and like High School Musical.
Can be. I don't want to.
Do you remember when someone said to you they have their favourite basketball film is High School Musical?
I walked away from that conversation.
Well, there we go.
That's dead.
That was that or this. It's time for the featured artist segment, and this month it is metalcore band Skinwalker out of Ventura County, California. They got influences from bands like Wage War, Era, Currents, and like Moth to Flames, and it all comes together in just really amazing metalcore. What do you guys think of this song?
Firstly, great band name.
Yes.
Really like the band name. Yeah, I love the tension that's created by the sort of ambience in the intro. Vocals are great, both the screams and the cleans. And it reminds me quite a lot of Polaris, which is good. I'm a big fan of Polaris.
Yeah, I completely agree. The build in the intro is really, really nice before the instrumentals kick in. I always love when a double bass drum mimics the guitar notation and riffs, so instantly that I'm drawn in by that. The vocal tone and the screams is very, very good. The dotted rhythm riffs kept me headbanging throughout, and the nice sung vocals entering in during the chorus, I think, was a very, very welcome addition. It's a solid progression throughout the instrumentals moving through the song, and an absolutely fantastic metalcore song, and I think I need to check more of this band out now.
Yeah, it's just another example of this segment exposing us to incredible bands that we wouldn't otherwise listen to. So this is Skinwalker with Premonition.
If you're an independent artist and you want to be featured on the podcast, please follow the instructions in the description below to submit your song, and maybe we'll feature you soon.
Today's discussion, we're going to be reviewing our experience of Slam Dunk South 2021. A brilliant day.
No, the Wonder Years.
Sad.
Next year.
The Wonder Years!
Hey! Yeah, no, it was a brilliant day, wasn't it, boys?
It was absolutely fantastic. It was nice to have a big group of people that came with us. If you haven't checked out our vlog, go and watch that now. We've got so many good moments, I think, in that. Shout out to Steve for his fantastic, stories.
Bringing the main character energy to the vlog.
Yeah, I think that was fantastic. And it was nice to have different groups of people jumping from stage to stage, seeing different bands, seeing, I think, people they never would usually see. And I think it was just a really, really fun day out. And it was a nice entrance to come back towards gigs about having a nice one-day festival. I've always thought Slam Dunk was organised fantastically. And it's just really fun.
They did such an amazing job putting on so many bands, considering how badly their lineup got ravaged by COVID and international travel and stuff. They still managed to put on such a jam-packed day.
Despite there being less bands than there was originally booked, I still had a full day. I still didn't really have any breaks. There were still bands that I wanted to see that I couldn't.
We also went and saw Loathe to begin the day, and they were just amazing, weren't they?
They really, I think, captured that festival feel as well. Being a fairly newish band and starting to really get their names out there a little bit more, you could see the crowd were absolutely into it, and they put on an absolutely killer show. And I think looking back throughout the whole day, even though we started with them, they still stand out as one of the strongest sets we saw.
Yeah. They did sound huge in that tent. Their sound translates really well to that kind of the size of stage, I think.
Yeah, I think they were brilliant. Should we talk about what other sort of bands that you saw that stood out to you?
A band that we'd been to go and see before, Alex in Oxford, was Comeback Kid. I've not really delved too much into them since, and they've always been on the back burner and know that I need to. But I think seeing them live again in this scenario, I thought they were fantastic. And I remember Ruben stood next to me as well, and he's never listened to them before. And again, I think he came out that day with them being a standout. They put on a really, really fun, energetic live performance. The crowd was so engaged with them. And then especially when the lead singer came out during Sleeps, I think, as well, that got a massive pop during Brainwashed at the end of that. So I think Comeback Kid, again, really, really big standout in the day.
That was like a perfect example of being at a festival like that is, because you have me there who knows their songs and was going mental, but then they were able to make a fan out of you and Ruben, who didn't really know, Ruben didn't know their music at all.
No.
They were so energetic, and the crowd was so... I mean, the Jägermeister tent all day was incredible. I went and saw quite a few bands there.
Yeah.
Malevolence popped off. I was at the back. I wasn't really moshing, but the crowd went mental. Your Demise, obviously.
Bury Tomorrow for me, when I was in there, the crowd were absolutely loving it. It was starting to fill up ready for Sleeps, but you could see massive pits forming. Bury Tomorrow during a very good big crowd. And again, that's a band who I've listened to bits and pieces before, and I've never really got into them. And seeing them in this live scenario, I now haven't really stopped listening to them afterwards, and I've been delving more into their catalogue. And I think that's one of the best things about these kind of festivals, is there is so much variety, and there's so many bands that you kind of hear of and you mean to listen to sometimes, and then you see them in that live scenario and it can capture you and kind of really get you to listen to that band and get into them.
Trashboat on the Jägermeister stage as well. I think they were one of my highlights of the day. Their set was brilliant. Toby, their vocalist, made a good point of, if you don't like our new songs, whatever, if you're a Trashboat fan, you're along for the ride. Our old songs are still here. Here's Strangers.
Yeah.
They had a nice mix of old and new in the set. Loads of angry finger pointing and singing along, going on.
And I think after seeing them only a few days prior at the Heavy Music Awards, it was like a nice encore, I think it felt like, for me in particular anyway.
I thought they were even better.
I think it was even better. It was like they had now a much larger audience that would cater to them better. And I think a festival really suits them. I think that's where they can really perform well. They're also going to have all their fans together at their headline shows, but they very much suit like a festival band. Like you've said before, Don Broco are like a festival band, and I think Trashboat very much had that feel as well.
Yeah, Trashboat were great. Another band that straight after them I went and saw, Funeral for a Friend. And aside from Broco, who are obviously headliners, that was Funeral for a Friend was the loudest crowd that I was in. it was ridiculous. People were just like, you know, like kind of the anticipation before the band walks on stage. People did like 3 separate like anticipation cheers before they even came out because people were so excited. They were just so loud. Like the crowd was just so loud. They were amazing, and it was just fun. Same with like Your Demise, bands that I never thought I would ever go and see, or probably wouldn't go and see on a headline tour. Like Funeral for a Friend, I never thought I'd go and see live, and then to have that opportunity, and have the crowd be as into it as I was going to be, was just surreal, really, I think. How about McFly?
Incredible. Absolutely fantastic. They drew such a crowd that I think me and a few of us went to try and get a good place, probably about 10 minutes early, 15 minutes early, and it was absolutely packed and you still couldn't get anywhere decent. They drew such a crowd. You could see there was just everyone having so much fun. You have all their big songs like Five Colours in Her Hair, and obviously the crowd absolutely loved it. And it's not necessarily, it doesn't 100% fit with, I guess, what you'd usually have there. And I think just having the nostalgia, having something different, coming back after all the COVID and having this festival back and having all these people together, I think it just created a wonderful atmosphere, and it was just so much fun.
I suppose we had the advantage, really, of being the second date. So we already knew that it was going to be McFly because they played in Leeds the day before. But it's quite funny watching some vlogs from people that have been to the Leeds one, where everyone thought it was going to be Neck Deep. So there was loads of people right at the front, ready for Neck Deep, and then McFly came out, and then you could see the crowd, like, just part. There's loads of people just like, no, fuck this, leaving. And then other people, of course, just loving it.
No, I was well up for McFly.
And you know what? Great. They were good.
They were so fun.
And it's made my mum jealous.
Thing is, you say that they don't really fit, but like when we did our Music Memories episode of our podcast, everyone that listens to alternative music in our sort of generation goes through bands like Busted and McFly to get there. So for everyone there, it was like this one great big nostalgia trip, and you had people that looked like they were in their 30s, covered in tattoos, in like a Thy Art Is Murder t-shirt, singing along to Stargirl, and it was just so nice. It was like everyone...
A wholesome moment.
Yeah, it was just so wholesome. It was so nice.
McBusted 2022?
Yes.
Cool, imagine. That'd be incredible.
I'll be stoked for that.
So later in the day, you went to see Bury Tomorrow and Sleeps, James. How was that?
So much fun. Like I said, Bury Tomorrow, they made a real fan out of me. But what really did sell me on the whole of Slam Dunk Festival was Sleeps. Them being my favourite band now, there was so much anticipation for that gig. I know with me, Ruben, Rob, I know Stephen got his ticket pretty much purely based off of them as well. It was nice to have, I think, people that wouldn't usually see this band go and see them and be blown away. Like one of our friends who came with, Kieran, he doesn't really listen to heavy music that much. At least anything where there is a lot more harsher vocals. And coming away from Sleeps in particular, and as we were walking to Don Broco, we saw him, and I was surprised he was there anyway. And he said how much of a fantastic live band they were, and how much of just a great show they put on. And he recognised some of the songs that I'd made a playlist for him beforehand, and he came away from it really enjoying their music and just having a great time. And I think that's a very good telltale sign that, although like we said earlier on, we went and saw them in this 500 capacity venue, they can cater to these big audiences at a festival and come away making new fans out of them. But they put on a fantastic set. It was lovely to see songs from Sleep Society being played live. They had the crowd in the palm of their hands. Crowd surfers everywhere, and it was just a fantastic time seeing them. So they were, for me, my favourite standout set.
You've touched on there, James, one of the best things about going to a festival is just going and checking out bands that you wouldn't normally see, dragging your mates to see bands that they wouldn't normally see, and making new fans out of them.
And that's what happened.
And while James was at Sleep, Stan, where were we?
Well, you were already in the crowd for Holding Absence, but they caught me off guard a bit. I thought, everyone seems to be running about 15 minutes behind, so I'm going to go for a little wander, look at some merch. But then I heard just the opening words being belted out by Lucas, and I was like, oh god, they're on early. So I ran over to the Marshall Key Club stage and dived straight into the crowd.
They were so good, weren't they?
I think they might have been my highlight of the day, and that's where I left my voice, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Lucas live is every bit as good as he is on that album. And such a such a lovable guy. He was so sweet. There was one point where he was on stage and he was like, "This is such a blissful moment. I could stay here and sing for you until I collapse." And he meant it. Like, you could tell he meant it. And the whole time as well, I was watching Scott on guitar, and he was just like, had the biggest smile on his face, and the crowd were just everyone was in love with it all at once.
Talking to both of you and watching the clips that we've got and that we've put out into their video, and just kind of all the content we've got from that, I am so excited to see them live. They seem like a fantastic live band, and the crowd just seems so into them as well. And they're the one band, looking back on the day, that if there wasn't that clash with Sleeps, I would have 100% gone to see them over so many other people. But I couldn't pass up the Sleeps opportunity for me.
I think when they played Wilt especially, which they closed on, I kind of just forgot about everything for that moment and just lost it to that song. Screaming all the words, as was everyone around me.
And then we saw Boston Manor, and this was probably the biggest letdown of the day.
Yeah, this was a disappointment.
And
it's nothing to do with them. They sounded great.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't see them.
Yeah, if you saw the vlog, you'll see that even in the footage that we tried to get, there was just a blinding light that was throughout every verse of every song. And it just ruined it.
Well, I had sunglasses on,
and
I was still like squinting to be able to see what was going on.
I had my hat
So
as low as it
I
could
could only
go.
imagine how your eyes felt.
Oh, and I was just stood there just thinking, I can't even watch them. Like, I'm not in the pit because I was exhausted.
Didn't you guys leave early because of that as well?
We did, yeah. I wanted to try and... I mean, we kind of had talked about...
It is a shame because we love Boston Manor,
Yeah.
but we kind of agreed if they don't turn that light off after the end of this song, then we might as well get it
I really wanted to hear Carbon Mono live, and I could hear it in the distance after we'd walked away, but I just thought, like... And I don't know if it was their lighting guy or a festival. I mean, if it's their lighting guy, please take notes from this, because I'm seeing them on their tour in, I think, February. But it just ruined it completely, because what's the point of it being like, the sky was dark and Dan had sunglasses on.
I think I got a tan from that light as well.
That was a shame. But then we went on to Broco, who, for me, had a perfect Don Broco set. Every song was exactly what I wanted to hear. Had priorities, which I wasn't really expecting. And the new songs live, it all came together. It
New
clicked,
songs were good. If anything, it would have been nice to be a bit further forward. I think we were, because we wanted to see other bands as well, we were there just a bit too late to realistically make any progress into the crowd. But it was kind of nice. We kind of found everyone that we'd been there during the day with, so it was nice to kind of end the day just chilling, just enjoying a band.
I think the only other band that we all saw together was State Champs.
Oh, forgot to talk about... They were bloody fun, weren't they? State Champs are so good live.
But they always have put on just a great live show. And I think there's pretty much all 9 of us were stood there just singing along to the songs. You hear stuff like Secrets, and I think all of us were just there finger pointing, singing along, and just having a great time. And yeah, again, they always just put on a great show.
And again, they seemed so happy to be there.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's the first time. I think Slam Dunk were actually with their first 2 shows. So not only that, but to travel to the UK to play shows as well as an American band must be a great feeling after the year or 2 we've had.
It felt them and Comeback Kid, I had the same impression, where they felt so grateful that they were able to make the journey. And I think the singer of Comeback Kid said, like, with all the testing, all the isolation, all the checks, was all worth it to play the set that they played.
Speaking of isolating, shout out to Emily and Lewis, who would have been coming along with us, but had to isolate and did the right thing and didn't come along. And shout out to anyone else that did the same thing. Because I imagine it's quite hard to just not go. Like, it'd be so easy just to lie.
Yeah. I just want to ask you, James, quickly, what you thought of Don Broco.
I enjoyed it. I think they're, like you said, they're a very good festival band. They're still not a band that I think I can fully get into. They have their very select songs that I would enjoy. You could see how much the crowd were into it, especially the T-shirt song. I mean, everyone just had them up in the air and swinging them around.
I swung my brand new Holding Absence T-shirt.
He did. They just had a great live experience, and I think they did really close off the day very nicely.
They brought out Loz Taylor from While She Sleeps for Action, which was pretty cool.
That was great.
Especially as Loz had literally just finished his set. In fact, James, you'd walked back from sleeps his set,
Yep.
just about joined us in the crowd, and then Loz just appeared on stage.
He must have been
action.
he must have been on a golf.
He must have been
buggy
straight
getting
on that buggy.
Yeah.
One sort of negative that I think we should talk about is
Portaloos?
no, they were actually alright, I think.
I thought they were fine.
And
Apart from that sticker I found in one of them, I don't know what that cat face was.
it's a weird criticism to have, but it was too much. It was something that, kind of in the car on the way home, me and Dan spoke about, that we were leaving sets early to see other people, and it just felt like it was too much, I think. I think either Jägermeister or Key Club could have done with not being split, because, yeah, it was cool that one band finished and the next band started immediately, but, you know, we couldn't get anywhere near for McFly, which we then had to leave early for to get to Trash Boat.
I don't want it to come across as, I didn't get to see every band that I wanted to see, because that's never going to happen. There's always going to be clashes.
That's festivals.
But I reckon I could literally have gone to Leeds and Hatfield and done 2 completely different days.
Yeah.
And possibly still not seen every band that I wanted to see over the weekend. Which obviously is a compliment to how good the lineup is and how good a job Ben and the rest of the team did. I think his name's Ben. With putting together a lineup in the circumstances that they had. But I think going forward, if they're going to have a stronger lineup next year, then there's going to be even more that we're missing out on.
Yeah.
And yes, it gives us an incentive to buy a ticket to both days.
But realistically,
But maybe,
we can't do that. We can't make the travel all the way up to Leeds and then back again for the South date. Yeah, it feels like they're in this in-between spot where I would like to see them follow the Reading and Leeds structure, where you have 2 days of South, 2 days of North. Bands will play North on the Saturday, South on the Sunday, and vice versa, just so that I think it could be more spread out. And they don't have to make it camping. They could just make it like you have day tickets and you've got to go and get a hotel.
Near the city still, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it could still be a hotel,
yeah,
bed and breakfast kind of thing.
Thing is, this festival has grown from being much more smaller, and now it's getting more noticeable. You're getting these bigger bands there. You're getting more diversity across the sets, across the whole bill, and I think that kind of model would really suit them well. And if they want to keep growing, which why not? They should keep growing. I think that would be perfect for them. If that happened, I think we'd all go for both days, and I think they'd probably get a lot more sales still as well.
I know it's a funny thing to complain about, but it's just a shame to be there.
It's a nice thing to have to complain about in a way.
Yeah.
I think the change point for me was I've been to quite a few slam dunks. James has been to a couple more with me as well.
Yeah.
And I just prefer the older setting. In the format it is now, of it being a one-day festival, I just felt it works better being in like where it used to be on the Hatfield University campus, where it's kind of urban almost. It's kind of
you went inside like
in a car park,
and you go see bands inside.
I felt like that works better with the one-day format, where they've moved it now to being in a big field with tents and outdoor stages and stuff, and it feels like a proper festival. It feels more like it's leaning towards becoming a proper 2-day event.
That's what I'd like to see for it.
Yeah, personally, I think that's the route I'd like it to go down. Maybe they were trying to test that last year because they were originally going to have a Day to Remember playing on the festival site the day before or the day after, depending whether it was Hatfield or Leeds.
Okay.
So that might have been part of them playing with that idea.
See if people would come.
So we might well see something like that this year.
But this is also only the second slam dunk where they've kind of done this format and they've been outside. The last one being 2019 was the first time they kind of delved into the outside and went out, moved away from the Hatfield Uni parks. So maybe it is that slow build. Maybe it's them just trying to get their grips of it, work out how to kind of operate in that more outdoor scenario. And that's where we're heading towards.
It feels like there's a market for it as well. If you look at Reading and Leeds and the direction they've gone down, they're going down a bit more of an indie rap and pop route now.
They've lost a lot of the alternative.
There's a lot of alternative bands that don't fit in on that lineup anymore. Same with Download. Download is still set in its ways of booking old bands and just arena rock kind of bands. There's still, and then even if you look at the festivals that might bridge that gap in between, 2000 Trees are a bit more niche. They book kind of not quite hipster, but cult hero bands, perhaps. Like Thrice, for example, they're not a huge band on their own, but loads of people absolutely love them. But then Slam Dunk, they are the only ones, I think, that are booking big, current, relevant bands.
And if you look at like,
and it feels like they're only going to grow, and they need to fill this kind of slot that seems to be blatantly there and shouting out for something.
Because you look at what the original lineup should have had, you could easily put Sum 41 headlining one day and Broco another. Because how were they? I think about it now that we went to the day that we had, how would they have fit them two and Sleeps? Because
I think Sleeps probably would have clashed with either Don Broco or Sum 41.
Well, yeah, but then where do you put Broco?
Yeah, exactly.
Would they have done two main stages? Or would you put Broco to the Jägermeister? So that Sum 40... Do you know what I mean? That's
How'd you do it?
that.
I think the intention was for there to be two main stages. I think there was going to be the Amazon Music one and the Monster one, something like that.
I mean, if that's the case, I don't know. We'll see how... But if they could have split that bill into 2 days.
Easily.
Because, I mean, the easy fix is take away the splits at Jägermeister and Key Club. And then you can take away some of the main stage to stagger it out a bit more. And if next year's lineup's going to be even bigger, I don't know. I think it's going to be, in a way, almost overwhelming. There's just going to be so many bands there.
I've had Rancid and Alexis on Fire announced so far, and the wording on the post suggests that they're only headlining 2 of the stages, and then not actually the main headliners.
Yeah.
And those are already 2 pretty big bands.
Because I can see Rancid
very popular bands.
Rancid at Punk and Drublic and Alexis at Jägermeister, probably.
Yeah, probably Jägermeister.
Which leaves room for a proper headliner, potentially Sum 41 returning. That would be nice. But I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it's just the next few years of Slam Dunk are going to be critical to see what they do moving forward. Ben, if you're listening, make it 2 days, please. But it was great. I don't want to sound like we're complaining. There were too many bands on.
We've got to criticise you somehow.
I just wanted to be able to see everyone fully. That was the problem. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want to have to leave State Champs early or McFly early, but yeah.
But despite all of that, being back in the middle of large crowds, back in the pit, screaming along to lyrics with your mates.
And the sun was out.
What beautiful weather we had. It was just such a fantastic day, a perfect day maybe, for that kind of thing, to come back to it. I'd love to revisit it.
And we vlogged it. You can see what we got up to.
Go watch it. Go watch it now. That link in the top corner up there. Go watch it.
So as always, we'll end with an album recommendation. James.
The Wonder Years!
Christ.
What would you like to recommend us, James?
It's not The Wonder Years. I'm going to recommend the self-titled debut album by Woven War. I think they're a band that very short-lived, only released 2 albums, and I think based on like prior history of band members, are very underrated. They released this first debut album. I think it didn't really reach too far to many people, but I think from the people it did reach, it was noted as being very good. It's an absolute joy to listen to. So yeah, the self-titled debut album by Woven War.
Dan, your recommendation?
I've been listening to a lot of Biffy Clyro this month, so I felt like it made sense to just recommend one of their albums. I wanted to go for Opposites, because it's my favourite one, but it's a double album and it's about an hour and a half long. So I'm just going to settle for their latest album, The Celebration of Endings. It feels like quite a definitive album. There's riffs on there, there's some more like ballad kind of stuffs on there, there's some pop bits on there. And there's a really nice track to close it out, which I think you'll both enjoy. So, A Celebration of Endings by Biffy Clyro.
Well, after their set at Slam Dunk and the prospect of seeing them next year at Download, I want you guys to come with me for that set. So I'm going to recommend Hours by Funeral for a Friend. It was a toss-up between this or Casually Dressed, because both of them are iconic. But this one just tips it for me. So yeah, it's incredible. So Hours by Funeral for a Friend. James, we've been busy boys lately. What's been going on and what's coming up?
So we hope you all had the chance to check out the vlogs from the Heavy Music Awards, Slam Dunk Festival, and then the headline While She Sleeps show we've just come back from. We saw that a few of you were commenting particularly about wanting more sleep taken footage from the Heavy Music Awards. So we have all our footage in one video uploaded on the channel now. So if you haven't seen that, please go and check it out. And you can look forward to even more Sleep Token footage in the future, as we recently got tickets to go and see them on their November headline tour. So you best be sure that we'll get some more footage then, so you can all join in the worship. More vlogs are on the way, with a double feature coming this week, combining 2 gigs. We're going to see Blood Youth and then Bring Me the Horizon. Also, we're working on some very different kind of videos coming soon, including a look into the links between metal music and Halloween. So keep an eye on the channel for all this content. Also, go check out our new featured video talking about Machine Gun Kelly and his role in a possible pop-punk revival.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you're an independent artist, check the description for information on how to submit your music.
If you made it this far, let us know who your slam dunk highlights were if you went, and comment, "The Wonder Years!"